I don't always feel like playing fighting games. Usually when I'm in for something different, I turn to retro games instead of newer titles. However, there's one company that releases video games that just always hit the right note with me. Nintendo. Nintendo's pretty amazing. They've made and are still making incredible games. And they are the origins of some of our favourite genres. And even if they don't completely invent a genre themselves, then making a game in a certain genre often ends up in games that are genre defining, or games that shoot off to create subgenres of their own. So what if? What if I could combine my love for Nintendo and my love for fighting games? What if there was a Nintendo fighting game? Okay, I know, Splatoon obviously isn't a fighting game, but it definitely isn't a normal shooter either. In this video, I want to take a look at what sets this game apart from its shooter peers, and take a look at how it relates to games outside of its genre, specifically how it compares to fighting games. In Splatoon, instead of some gnarly military man, you play as beings known as Octolings and Inklings. These creatures combine more standard shooting, running and gunning, with hiding in ink and swimming through it. These characters are equipped with a variety of weapons and gear. Shooting or using these weapons will result in their ink painting the ground. Ground painted in your colour allows you to refill your own ink tank, hide in the ink, and traverse much quicker by swimming through it. Conversely, enemy coloured ink will damage you and make traversing it more difficult. So taking a look at the gear, we got our first main difference. Most standard shooters follow some semblance of real life logic. Mostly. Their weapons fire bullets or other projectiles that can often travel the entire size of the map, losing some of their velocity and damage output the further away they travel. However, Splatoon's weapons handle this a little differently. Most of the weapons you'll be using have a very specific but limited range in which they can hit the enemy. By removing range from most of its weapons, the game can make most any engagement more engaging, for lack of a better term. Needing to be closer to the enemy to hit them, and every bullet being a projectile that has to travel a distance before hitting, adds complexity to any and every fight beyond who has the best aim and who had the fastest reactions. In Splatoon, you more often than not see an enemy well before you'd be able to hit them, meaning you will need to approach them in the best way possible. Taking into consideration your own weapon and gear, and of course theirs, this is where Splatoon opens up with its variety of movement options and different weapons, and this is also where the bulk of fighting game comparisons lie. Splatoon is a shooter with complex movement and spacing, matchup dependence on a ton of data, and even meter management. Splatoon has 9 weapon categories covering super soakers and umbrellas to buckets and paintbrushes. These 9 broad categories are divided into over 100 different combinations, consisting of different main, sub and special weapons. These different weapon combinations can be seen as different characters in a fighting game, and how these different weapon types fight each other plays out a lot like certain character matchups. So let's take a look at 3 different weapon types and how they compare to each other. First, you have weapons like the Splatshot Pro or the Ryu or Shotos of the game. The Splatshot Pro can be seen as an all-rounder. It has quite decent range compared to the other weapon classes, it has average movement speed, and a pretty middle-of-the-pack rate of fire and time to kill compared to the other weapons as well. The Splatshot Pro excels in its versatility, and can play most roles decently well. Move in, push the objective and play it a bit more aggressive? Yeah, the Pro can do that for you. Hang back, be the anchor of the team and try to keep the opponents away, or zone them out if you will. Yes, the Pro can do that for you as well. Another weapon type are the Splat Dualies. Let's call these the Kamis or the rushdown characters. These weapons are specifically catered towards getting in fast and overwhelming your opponents with their amazing firing rate. The Splat Dualies have great movement speed and even add a roll or dash to your arsenal. They have a really fast rate of fire and with that a very quick time to kill. To balance them out, they have shorter range compared to other weapons in the game, and thus have to try to get in close to their opponents. Playing with this weapon, you want to be pushing forward as much as possible. To kill the enemy, you need to be right up in their faces, so that's where you want to be. Rush them down and take them out. Lastly, let's look at this game's sniper weapon, the Splat Charger, or the Dalseem or zoner of the game. Like you would expect, the sniper has the most range of any weapon in the game. However, this comes with one huge drawback. As the name implies, the Splat Charger needs to charge before every shot. A fully charged shot will instantly kill an enemy, but miss it, and you're leaving yourself wide open to enemies as you charge your next shot. The Splat Charger wants to play at a distance where they can hit the enemy, but the enemy can't hit them, effectively zoning them out. Playing this way, you'll be the anchor point of your team and will need their help with some of your most difficult matchups. Knowing how to effectively play your weapon and how to counter other weapons is key to becoming good at this game. So, do all weapons need to be played in their little confined role to be effective? No. Just like how the Hadouken makes fighting from a long range an engaging option in fighting games, so too does inking the floor make missing an engaging form of gameplay in Splatoon. Any shot you fire, no matter what weapon you use, will result in the ink you shot landing on the floor. Inking the floor will make it your turf, allowing you to walk over your own ink without taking damage or swim through it to refill your tank and make for a better movement option in both retreating and advancing. Also, just like whiffing certain moves in fighting games will build meter, so too does inking the floor build your special meter in Splatoon as well. Speaking of meter, let's finally take a look at meter management in Splatoon. Splatoon has two main meters you will rely on during the game. The one that is strapped to your back, aka your ink tank, and the aptly named special meter in the top right of the screen. Your main resource during the game will be your ink. Shooting and using sub-weapons will all use ink from the same tank. So, good meter management is necessary to win your battles, as you can't win any battle on an empty tank. To fill it up, you will need to either stand or swim in your own ink color, or time the usage of your special just right, which will instantly refill it as well. With you using ink and gaining ground, to refilling ink and losing ground, there is a constant push and pull to this game. Did your team just wipe out another player, making it a 4v3? Well, consider yourself plus and stay on the offensive. Did your team just lose a player, making it a 3v4? Well, you're minus now. Try to defend against the enemy team whilst waiting for the player to respond. Or, try to wait for the other team to overextend, so you can steal your turn back. For now, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Look, I'm not saying that your average fighting game combo fiend or lamp monster should all jump on this game, but if anything you heard in this video looked cool, then maybe consider broadening your horizons a bit. Who knows? You might really enjoy it.